What's up guys, it is Gnarly back with another Persona video. And unless you've been living under a rock for the past week, you've probably heard about the new Persona announcements that were shown at Persona Super Live 2019. On Wednesday, we finally got an actual trailer for Persona 5 The Royal, which we now know is going to be a highly enhanced re-release with new confidants, new story content, and of course, a new Phantom Thief, which has the internet up in arms because of something, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is something else that has the internet up in arms. The announcement that occurred the day after Persona 5R, Persona 5S, now called Persona 5 Scramble: The Phantom Strikers. Now, you would have to be living under a boulder not to know how much of a demand there is for a Switch version of Persona 5. From the beginning of 2019 up until now, there have been a lot of rumors suggesting that Persona 5 will be coming to the Switch, and they're not all entirely baseless, so a lot of people were reasonably expecting this to be a Switch port. Well, unlike Persona 5 The Royal, this game will be coming to the Switch. But Persona 5 Scramble isn't a port of Persona 5. It's a Warriors game developed in partnership with Koei Tecmo. Yeah. As you would expect, a good amount of people are pretty upset that this wasn't the case. But even still, after two massively disappointing announcements, this hasn't stopped speculation of a Switch version of Persona 5. Which brings me to my main topic. Will Persona 5 ever be ported to the Switch? Well, until a port is either announced or the Switch lives out its entire life without one, we probably won't get a definitive answer, but we can attempt to find an answer based on Atlus's attitude toward putting Persona 5 on other platforms, which also means talking about rumors, speculation, and demand. So let's go all the way back to when Persona 5 was announced. It's November 24th, 2013, and after a long stream, Persona 5 gets teased for a winter 2014 release date. Obviously, when Persona 5 was announced at this time, there was no demand or speculation for a Switch version because the Switch hadn't even been conceptualized yet. The Wii U was just barely over a year old. It was announced to be a PS3 exclusive, a decision which seemed kind of odd considering that the PS4 had just released, but keep in mind that Persona 4 released in 2008, more than a year and a half after the PS3, so people weren't all that surprised. There was also a small crowd that wanted an Xbox 360 version because Catherine and Persona 4 Arena had both released on it. But this crowd wasn't very vocal, and nobody was really all that surprised when it was confirmed not to be coming to it. Then, Persona 5 updates went dark until September of 2014, where it was announced that Persona 5 would be delayed to 2015, but would now be coming to both the PS3 and the PS4, a decision that most people were okay with. We then got our first real trailer in February of 2015, where, once again, Atlus maintained the vague 2015 release date. In September that year, we got another trailer along with the news that it would be delayed again to summer 2016. Yeah. Then we barely got any updates again, to the point where I personally was about to give up on it and expect it to be the next Duke Nukem Forever. But in May 2016, we finally got a release date of September 15th, 2016. The last week of summer. Nice. Then we got a Western release date of February 14th, 2017. Until it got delayed again to April 4th due to an overwhelming demand for dual audio. Up until this point, there wasn't a whole lot of speculation or demand for Persona 5 to be ported to other consoles, but after it came out, there began a small demand for Atlus to port Persona 5 to PC. At this point, JRPGs being ported to PC was becoming more and more common, and it's pretty much universal now, but Atlus made it clear that they didn't want you to play Persona 5 on PC. And they didn't just say that they weren't going to put it on PC, they actually went out of their way to issue a DMCA takedown notice against the makers of a PS3 emulator, RPCS3, for running Persona 5. Now, I'm not going to argue over whether emulation is morally right or wrong. We all know different companies have different stances on it though, and Atlus actually issued a statement on their website that said this.
We believe that our fans best experience our titles like Persona 5 on actual platforms for which they are developed. We don't want their first experiences to be frame rate drops or crashes or other issues that can crop up in emulation that we have not personally overseen. We understand that many Persona fans would love to see a PC version, and while we don't have anything to announce today, we are listening. For now, the best way to experience Persona 5 is on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3. We appreciate the awareness generated by the emulation community for Persona 5 and know that that's a fantastic example of how much people are loving our game. We want to keep bringing you titles like Persona 5. Unfortunately, when our content is illegally circumvented and potentially made available for free in a format that we do not think delivers the best experience and quality we intend, it undermines our ability to do so by diverting potential support from a new audience.
So yeah, this wasn't just about potentially playing a pirated version. This was about playing the game on PC at all, which they clearly didn't want anybody doing. They did say a PC version wasn't out of the question in the future, but this was over a year and a half ago, and there are still no plans for a PC version, so I wouldn't count on one. Now we get into the Switch rumors. Persona 5 came out in North America almost immediately after the Switch, and like pretty much every other game that comes out this generation, there's a small vocal crowd asking for the Switch version, no matter how unlikely it may be. We didn't get any official statements from Nintendo or Atlus on one, but in December 2018, at the Game Awards, we get a massive announcement. Joker from Persona 5 was announced to be the second DLC character of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Oh yeah. To many fans, having a Persona character in Smash was like a dream come true, and this is where the speculation of a Switch port really started to take off. Persona 5 wasn't on any Nintendo consoles, so Joker being in a Nintendo exclusive franchise reasonably brought up speculation that his game would be coming to the Switch. On top of this, every Persona game before had gotten a re-release of some kind on a portable console, and we all know they weren't going to put it on the Vita. The Switch was really their only option. Speculation began to rise even further in Christmas of that same year when Atlus registered an updated P5R.jp. Everyone was expecting this to be the Switch version, and we knew we were going to be getting a teaser soon. But when we finally got the teaser, we all had our hopes and dreams crushed when we saw that blue screen of death, that dark void of disappointment, followed by the PlayStation logo. Yeah, a lot of people were pretty upset, and there were some pretty extreme reactions from the fandom, but many still clung to the hope that it would be coming to the Switch, because this logo didn't necessarily mean it was PlayStation exclusive. Fast forward to March 23rd, and out of nowhere we get a new trailer for Persona 5R, now called Persona 5 The Royal. I put trailer in quotes because this was just another short teaser that barely showed us anything about the game. Some people thought that the new character was the female protagonist, but either way, there was no Switch port in sight. A couple weeks later, Atlus launches P5S.jp and states that we'll be getting more info on April 25th, the day after we get more Persona 5 The Royal info. Of course, everyone now thought this was going to be the Switch version because the S would stand for Switch. But that wasn't all. Immediately after the site was launched, there was a leak from Best Buy for Persona 5 on the Switch, and it looked pretty legit. As someone who used to work at Best Buy, I can confirm that this is the employee interface, but I still had my doubts for 3 reasons. 1, why was the publisher listed as Nintendo of America? 2, why was this only the vanilla version and not the Royal? 3, knowing how Atlus in 2019 loves to take their sweet time with localizations, why would it appear in the database of an American company before it was even announced in Japan? This didn't stop people from believing it though, and a couple weeks later on April 17th, Smash Ultimate's 3.0 update released along with Joker for Smash Ultimate. Releasing Joker for Smash right before announcing the Switch version of Persona 5 seemed like an excellent marketing move to sell the game to Switch players. April 24th comes around, and we get the first actual trailer for Persona 5 The Royal. It confirmed and deconfirmed most of our speculations about the game, and just the PS4 logo at the end of the trailer was the final nail in the coffin that the game wouldn't be coming to the Switch. But the announcements weren't over just yet. The next day, Atlus plans to reveal Persona 5S, which most people are expecting to be a Switch port. They show off the Royal trailer again, and shortly after, they show the trailer for Persona 5S, now confirmed to be Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers, which was in fact coming to the Switch, but it wasn't a port. It was a hack-and-slash spin-off. And yeah, Switch fans were and still are pretty angry. And that now brings us to where we are now. With all these announcements behind us, there's hardly anything that suggests Persona 5 will be coming to the Switch. Until Persona 5 for Switch is announced or the Switch gets discontinued before it can get one, we're probably never going to get a straight up answer on whether or not it'll be coming to the Switch. But in my personal opinion, I don't think a Persona 5 Switch port is impossible, but given the statements Atlus has made about porting Persona 5 to PC and the fact that despite the overwhelming demand, it still hasn't been announced already, I think it's extremely unlikely. And as far as reasons go, I think the main reason Atlus hesitates to put Persona 5 on the Switch is the fact that mainline Persona has always been exclusive to Sony consoles, and Atlus wants it to stay that way. I'm not saying I agree with this because since Persona 4 Arena, we've had Persona spin-offs on both Xbox and Nintendo consoles. I mean, Persona Q1 and 2 are Nintendo exclusives, and even if these aren't mainline, they still have the Persona title in them. You might say they're doing this because they want the PS4 to keep as many exclusives as possible, and I agree that the PS4 needs exclusives more than anything because that's the main reason people buy consoles. But Atlus doesn't care about that. They're a third-party publisher, and they just put their games on whatever platform is best to develop for and has their best player base. The rest of Megaten did this too. They started out on Nintendo consoles, but when Nintendo wasn't cutting it, they switched to Sega and Sony. They then tried Microsoft, that didn't work out either, so they stayed with Sony. Then they switched back to Nintendo. That's why I think it's in Atlus's best interest to put the game on as many platforms as possible, including PC. I mean, we know there's a player base in the Switch for Persona 5, otherwise the demand for a port wouldn't be so high. And maybe another reason is because they have another RPG coming out for the Switch, Shin Megami Tensei 5, and they don't want Persona 5 to cannibalize the excitement for it, as if there was any excitement left at this point. But I hope that if that's the case, they're doing it because they have plans to announce a release date for SMT5 soon, but knowing Atlus, that's pretty unlikely. There's also just the fact that Atlus doesn't listen to their fanbase most of the time. I mean, even before Persona 5 came out, people wanted a re-release with a female protagonist, which isn't happening. They wanted the same thing for Persona 4 Golden, that didn't happen either. You also might say that it's a hardware problem and that the Switch can't handle Persona 5R being that it's a PS4 game, but remember that Persona 5 was also on PS3, and aside from the resolution and load times, there's virtually no difference between the two versions. And there are also several 7th generation games and even some 8th generation games that run just fine on the Switch. I don't know what kind of changes the Royal is making to the graphics and performance, seeing as how it's only coming to the PS4, but if this is an enhanced version of what's basically a PS3 game, I don't think getting it to run on the Switch is out of the question. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still excited for Persona 5 The Royal because I think an updated re-release is just what Persona 5 needs. It gives the developers a chance to fix many of the glaring problems that the original had, and I own both a PS4 and a Switch, so it not coming to the Switch isn't going to be a deal breaker. But it just seems like a bit of a wasted opportunity considering that most PS4 JRPGs are also coming to the Switch, and PC for that matter. I know if I did have a choice, I would get the Switch version because with that version I can play it on the go and, you know, Sony's policies with PS4 games. I know I'm going to be getting Persona 5 Scramble on the Switch for that reason. And I could be wrong, it could be that Atlus does release Persona 5 for the Switch a couple years down the road, but if it's just a straight up port of one of the existing versions that doesn't add any new content, I'm probably not going to bother with it. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Are you still hopeful that Persona 5 will come to Switch, or have you given up on it? And what are your overall thoughts on Persona 5 The Royal and the Scramble? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Persona and SMT videos, and be sure to follow me on Twitter and check out my Discord. Until next time, I will see you guys later.